Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Art and Science of IT Career Transformation, otherwise known as How to Change Careers Without Starting Over Again or Going Broke Doing Something That You Love. My name is Bruce Strumpf, and I am going to be your host for this class, and I'm also the author of this material. So who did I create this for? Well, this is for IT people who want to make their next career move with confidence, whether that's doing something else in IT or leaving IT altogether. And at this point, you don't even have to know what that might be. But you're here because you want to know how to overcome the fear of failure. You're afraid that if you do something else, you'll have to start over again at the bottom of the career ladder, or that you won't make the same kind of money or have the same kind of abundance that you have currently in IT. So you're feeling stuck. This is probably something that's been rattling around in your head for a while, and you've seen the handwriting on the wall. You know how IT careers are changing with outsourcing and acquisitions and mergers and contracts being canceled. So you've just concluded that it's time to take a look at possibly doing something else in your career, because you want to go from feeling stuck in a job that you're no longer passionate about, and you want to feel successful again. If any of that sounds like you, you're in the right place. So here's what we're going to talk about today. After this class, you're going to know how to picture what your new career might look like. You can't move towards a vision of something else if you can't picture it first. You have to have the vision before you can create it in your life. So we'll talk about how to do that. Then we're going to talk about that fear of failure. Fear of failure is what keeps people from making clear, confident decisions. So we have to deal with that first in order to be able to make grounded decisions about where it is that we want to go. The next thing is that most IT people have more skills, more transferable or marketable skills than they initially realize. So we're going to talk about what those are, how you might add some additional skills to that so that you are not starting over again at the bottom of the career ladder. You have lots and lots of things that you've learned over the years, and those can be utilized in all sorts of creative and different ways that you probably don't realize right now. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about how to make a career change on your timeline versus, say, your company's timeline. It's not ideal to do this when you've been laid off or when your contract has been canceled. We want to make career change ideally when we can have some time to think about what we want to do and how to plan it out. So better to be proactive than reactive. Then we're going to talk about doing this in a sort of a team approach, or we're going to run your career transformation like a project. And just like a project, you don't do everything. You do the things that you're good at, and you get help and support in the things that you're not so good at. So we'll talk about that. And then last but probably not least is we want to talk about moving towards something that you're going to love instead of just running away from something that you hate. If you've lost passion for your job and you've been at it for a while and you've got a high degree of frustration, sometimes the tendency can be just to run away and just get out of a bad situation. And that's not ideal either. Really, we want to create something that you're going to love, something that you want to go towards, and achieve that vision in your life. And so that's what I call go from being stuck to being successful. So here's my promise to you. In the rest of this class, what we're going to do is give you a step-by-step process to decide what your next career should be and how to make that a reality. So first I want to know if any of these sound like you. Have you been feeling like career should have been a settled issue for you by now, but it's not? You picked IT, you've probably been at it for a while, and it was satisfying at one point, but it no longer is. And so you're a little bit upset because you thought you'd made a career decision, you put a lot of time and effort into it, and now based on the market, with outsourcing and with the hours and with contracts being shuffled around, budgets being cut, mergers and acquisitions, career for you just is not a settled issue. Or have you been having the feeling that you're supposed to be doing something more or something else, perhaps something more in service to mankind, or something not so quite in the back office, something more up front, something where you can really use your skills and your talents in a way that really makes you feel good? Also, have you been noticing that you've been kind of putting on a game face or a persona when you go to work? You've been at this for a while and you know that you want to do something else, but you have to keep up appearances in front of your boss and in front of your team, in front of your customers, because you're afraid that if they really saw what was going on inside of you, they'd realize what you're realizing, which is that you've lost interest in what it is that you're doing, and you can't let them see that. Do you see other people who are still gung-ho getting the plum projects or the promotions that technically you're better qualified for? And maybe worse than that, you're not even sure that you really care because you don't necessarily want to take on that extra new cutting edge project because you know it's going to mean 6 months or a year of late nights, weekends, doing something that, is important to the company, but isn't necessarily important to you personally. So does that sound like you? Or have you seen the writing on the wall in terms of the company structure, the project structure, the department structure? Have they eliminated products? Have they eliminated projects? Are all the jobs that you'd be really good at, are those all being offshored? Are you seeing that your time in IT is coming to an end? And last but not least, has your unhappiness at work spilled over into your personal life? How's your health? How's your weight? How's your relationship with your spouse or significant other or your children? So typically, if we're coming to the end of our career and we want to do a new career, the unhappiness at work spills over into our personal life because we spend a lot of time at work, right? So if any of those sound like you, then you're probably like our little guy here in the Iron Mountain Canyon. You're feeling stuck. And so really the question is, do you feel stuck in your job because you don't believe that anything else you do will come with the perceived stability or the current income that your current career provides? So if any of those things sounded like you or sounded familiar, here's the real problem. Because everything we've talked about up until now has really been about symptoms. The real problem is that you don't know the agile solution to career change. But once you know the solution, you're going to be able to figure out what it is that you want to do, and you're going to know how to get from where you are to where you want to be without starting over again or going broke doing it. Once you know the solution, you're going to feel excited every day to get up and work on your career transformation. Once you've got a vision of what it is that you want to do and you're moving towards it, that's going to generate a lot of excitement in your life. Also, once you know the solution, you're going to be able to figure out how you're going to get the time, money, and energy that you're going to need to make this significant life transformation. Also, you're not going to feel stuck at your job anymore because even if you have to stay in it for a while, you're going to see your current job or situation as a bridge to something better, not as the endless nightmare that it feels like today. Also, you're going to gain the ability to take the results of whatever you do as feedback, and that feedback is going to help you make clear decisions on what to do next. Making career transformation is a series of decisions, and once you know the agile solution, once you make a decision, you're going to get feedback on that decision, and that's going to help you make the next one, and it's a series of small steps. And finally, and most importantly, you're going to be able to make your mark on the world while living the life you were meant to live, and that's why we're here. So here's the one big thing that you need to know, in addition to all the other things I just mentioned. Real security comes from your ability to deliver results. Your security is not your paycheck. I'm going to say that again. Your security is not your paycheck. As an IT person, you have been producing for years. You have been delivering to businesses, to customers, to clients, to other departments within your company. That is an incredibly valuable and rare skill. We lose sight of that sometimes in IT. It's just second nature to us. There's lots of people out there who promise things, but IT people deliver results over and over and over again. And your ability to harness your intellectual capabilities and your skills and those of others to be able to produce something out there in the world, that is your security. You're going to be able to find something else that you are going to love doing, and you're going to be able to deliver those results, and people are really going to value that. Here's the second thing. Your company's going to do what's in their own best interest, and you should do the same. By that, I mean, if the company decides that it's time to let you go, they're going to let you go, no matter what it is that you've contributed or for how long. And you have that same power. If you decide that this work situation, this job situation is no longer what you want to be doing with your life, you have the power to leave. You should treat them the same way that they're going to treat you. It's for as long as it shall be mutually convenient. If it's not convenient for them, they're going to let you go. And if it's time for you to go, then you should go. At this point, you might be wondering who I am or what my background is in all this. So I'll just take a moment to go through that. I transitioned into full-time coaching after a long career as a program, project, and people manager in a variety of industries such as entertainment, media, distribution, financial services, both serving domestic clients and global clients. I've also been internal to a couple of IT departments in Fortune 100 companies. I've managed hundreds of people. I've managed small departments. I've been a PMO leader. I've managed programs worth tens of millions of dollars. So that's my project and IT background. And lately, what I've been doing is I've been combining my business know-how with psychology. So early in my career, I got my CPA and my MBA, and then later on, I got 2 master's degrees in psychology, as well as a coaching certification. I'm actually back in school at the moment because I'm a PhD candidate. So I've devoted my career to helping people find the career that they love, what it is that they really want to do, what they're passionate about. And it's been really satisfying for me to help people go from feeling stuck to feeling successful again. Now I want to tell you a little bit about how I discovered the Agile solution to career transformation, because it didn't just come to me fully formed. For many years, I was a manager in IT, and what I was known for was helping people get into the right career, whether that was in IT or out of IT. I help people move up, move around, or move out. I remember one fella who was a tester. He wanted to become an Air Force fighter pilot, and I helped him make the moves that he needed to make in order to make that happen. That was a pretty unusual one. And, eventually I realized that I needed to do the same thing for myself. And for me, I concluded that I also needed to get out of IT. So to do this, the first thing I did was I learned more about my own psychology and beliefs and what was holding me back from finding and then moving into an amazing career doing something I loved. Eventually, I learned the things that everybody needs to know when making a career transformation. So after I became qualified to work with others, I started coaching people on how to step around the potholes that I fell into when I was making my own career transformation. And I found the things that you have to do in order to make change happen. That was a long, lengthy process. What I've done recently is I've distilled this all down to the essential things that you have to believe and that you have to do to make career transformation. And I call that the Agile solution. And I call it that because it uses Agile concepts like speed to market, iterative development, failing fast. And I have to tell you that this is going to save you years of trial and error and frustration once you've applied the Agile solution to your own specific situation. Let's get going on the Agile solution. There are 5 key principles you have to master in order to be able to make clear and confident decisions about your career and to be able to move from feeling stuck to successful. I want to tell you this is going to work whether you want to stay in IT or not, and even if you don't know what it is that you want to do yet. So now I'm going to walk you through all 5 of the key principles in this session. The first of the 5 principles is that happiness is your natural state. Now I'm going to explain what I mean by that. First thing is that believing is seeing, not the other way around. Well, what do I mean by that? So we probably all know someone who is particularly negative. They're just, they play the victim, they are lacking in confidence, and they are just negative all the time. And it's interesting, if you think about that person, how everything that happens to them, everything they see in their world reinforces their negative beliefs about themselves. So their beliefs are driving what it is that they see in the outer world. I'm also a big believer in the converse. If we are more optimistic, if we have more of an open attitude towards life, then what we see in the world will be more open and will be more positive as well. So our beliefs come first, and that what we see happening in the outer world comes second. The second thing is that we're all born with certain innate talents, and we have years of experience of building on those talents. I talked a little bit about this earlier, being an IT person, that you have probably a background in delivery. So you've got some sort of innate talents. Probably you're a logical or analytical person. Most IT people are. So you have valuable skills and abilities that are built off of innate talents. You were probably talented in that way before it is that you ever picked your IT career. And those skills are deep within you. The third thing is that those skills are representative of a blueprint inside of you, of what you're supposed to become. And everything and everybody is born with this blueprint. So the best example, or the most common example given, is that inside an acorn is the blueprint to become an oak tree. So you look at an acorn, it becomes an oak tree. It doesn't become a fig tree. So you have this blueprint as well. And by understanding what your blueprint is, you naturally become what it is that you're meant to be. Without understanding your blueprint, you're going to spend the rest of your life chasing every shiny object that grabs your attention. So we have this blueprint. We have something innate that we are supposed to be, something that we're supposed to become. And we often get distance from that. And since we don't know what our blueprint is, we don't know who we are and what it is that we're meant to be, then we chase every little thing that comes our way. And I call those shiny objects. When you do become what you're meant to be, when you know what your blueprint is and you follow it, then you naturally enter a state of gratitude and joy, which is happiness on steroids. And so when I say that happiness is your natural state, what I mean by that is that you have a blueprint of who you are meant to be and what you're meant to become. And once you tap into that, you're in the flow, you're in your creativity, you're doing what comes naturally to you, and that inevitably leads to happiness, gratitude, and joy. So now I want to give you a case study or an example of what it is that I'm talking about. So I worked with this woman named Rita, and when we started working together, she had no idea what she wanted to do or what she wanted to be. She was really disconnected from what her blueprint was. She was really afraid to even dream about what it is that she wanted to be because she had such negative beliefs about what the possibilities were out there in the world. So I helped her reframe her misbelief that the only thing that she could do was to be an IT person. And we eventually got Rita to think bigger about what it is that she wanted to be and who she really was deep down. And she decided to go from being an IT person to being a comedy writer, which was pretty incredible. And so here's a few things that Rita said about me and the process of working together. I'll be quiet for a minute and let you read this. Alrighty. So here's the second principle. It's okay to love what you do. Doing what you love will not wreck your lifestyle. You are not being irresponsible by finding what it is that you're meant to do and getting in the flow of creativity. Here's another really important point. If people made big decisions based on logic alone, they would never start a business, get married, or have a baby. I mean, we do certain things in life because they feel like the right things to do and because we have that internal feeling. We love someone and we want to marry them. We are passionate about a product or service, and so we start a business. We feel like it's time to expand our families. Those decisions are never purely logical. They're based on our heart and our gut and what it is that we feel the universe is calling us to do. And career transformation is the same way. So not every decision is purely logical. Now, here's the art part of the art and science of career transformation. Doing what you love brings forward the people, places, and opportunities you need to support your new career. I can't prove that to you scientifically. I just know that it's true, that when we're in the flow, when we understand what our blueprint is and we're working towards becoming who it is that we're meant to be, and we're open and we're communicative and our belief system is being manifested in the outer world. Somehow, some way, the people, places, and opportunities that we need come to us. And here's the next thing. Doing anything new means going outside of your comfort zone. So most of us live in a particular state of happiness. We're neither terribly miserable or terribly happy. We stay within a range of happiness that I'm calling our comfort zone. If we're psychologically healthy, we don't dip below that for very long. But more importantly, we don't allow ourselves to experience things that are going to blow the glass ceiling off of our comfort zone. Because when we get outside of our comfort zone, we by definition become uncomfortable. But I've got news for you. That's where all the growth happens. Because to change our life, we have to change our life. If we stay in our comfort zone, if we don't get uncomfortable now and again, then nothing ever changes or happens in our life. So the next thing is there are two kinds of fear, but only one helps with big decisions. So when we're outside of the comfort zone, we can often go into a state of fear. And that's what keeps us from sticking to our blueprint and making things happen in our lives. Now, fear can help keep us safe, and we want to keep that kind of fear around. So, we're programmed to run away from lions and to not put our hands on a hot stove, and that's good fear because that keeps us safe. But then, as modern people, we have another kind of fear that we've developed that doesn't help us, and that is anytime that we're uncomfortable, we create situations and fears and doubts because we're trying to do something new. And that doesn't really help us very much. So we want to overcome that kind of fear. And that is about tapping into your inner guide. And I'm going to talk in more detail about this a little bit later in the webinar. But basically, we have inner guidance. And once we can get through the fears, we can make authentic, clear decisions based on inner guidance. And that includes our career decisions. So now I want to give you another case study, and this is another client of mine named John. And John came to work with me after he'd already quit the job that he hated, and that's not ideal, but things still worked out anyway. We worked specifically on what it was about the old job that was so damaging, because John really dipped below his low end of happiness in his comfort zones. He was well below where he wanted to be, and that's why he quit his job. So we really talked for a long time about what it was about the job that was so damaging and what kinds of skills he needed to develop to bump up the upper level of his comfort zone. And the main thing that John wanted was to feel passionate about his future work. He was quite religious, so he saw this as connecting to God's purpose for his life. And here's a few things that John said, and I'll give you a minute to give this a read as well. I think the two things that are interesting is that we started to talk about career, but of course it got into other parts of his life because everything in our life is connected. And also that John felt that pursuing other things and finding his blueprint and acting on them and doing all the things that we're talking about was fulfilling God's plan for him, or God, or his own personal destiny. And I found that an interesting perspective. Okay, so here's the third principle, which is the secret to agile career transformation. So first I want to talk to you about the old way and the new way to change jobs. So the old way to find something else to do was to, if you had a few dollars behind you, pay somebody to rewrite your resume, or maybe you rewrote it yourself. And when you did that, you focused on what you'd already done, because the traditional way to find jobs is that you get hired to do exactly what you've been doing before. And you're trying to emulate or maybe outdo everyone else who's been doing what you're doing, and use the same keywords that everyone else is using so that your resume gets to the top of the pile, because everything works on keyword searches, okay? And you're doing blind resume submissions and hoping that you're going to find something that is going to be your next job, and it's probably going to be exactly like what you've been doing, because that's how your resume is based. If you're lucky, you've got friends or relatives that can help get your resume to the top of the pile, because recruiters are getting literally hundreds of resumes for every job out there. So that doesn't work, because that's based on a misbelief that you can only do what you've done before, and that's how the job market works. Now, here's the new way to make career transformation. First thing you want to do is you want to document your transferable skills. So all the things that I've been talking about, your basic skills, your innate skills, the things that you've learned, the things that have helped you produce in the past, your people skills, your communication skills. What are your transferable skills? We want to document those. And then we want to redo your resume so that's forward-looking and looks towards the things that you want to do, not just replicates what you've done in the past. And you want to make yourself stand out. You want to make yourself be a catch. You are the world's foremost expert in you, and you have a story to tell. And you want to tell that story not just in your resume, but in your communications with people. So you want to start to network, and you want to start to look for industries and companies that have what it is that you'd like to do in the future, not just what you've done in the past. So I only want you to apply for things that are going to move you forward in some way. And you also have to start to make personal connections in this impersonal world. You have to tell your story. And again, you're the best person to tell your story, and a resume doesn't tell your story. Okay, so earlier in the class, I mentioned that I've been helping clients step around the potholes for career transformation, and I've distilled everything down to the essence of what it is that you need to know. Well, that essence I call the 5 Ps of Agile Career Transformation, and here's what those things look like. So the first one is creating a crystal clear picture of what you want, and this is the science part of the art and science of career transformation. Brain science says that we can't tell the difference between a well-developed fantasy and the reality of what happens in our life. So if we create a really clear picture of what it is that we want to become, then there's a gap between that picture and what we are today. And our life starts to rearrange itself, so we start to make that picture become a reality. The second thing is we have to get perspective on our lives. We have to pull back, and we have to get a 30,000 foot view on what it is that's been holding us back. Maybe we've tried to make career transformation before and failed. Maybe we've read books. Maybe we've taken other classes, and we just haven't gotten anywhere with it. And we really need to step back and gain perspective on why that wasn't the right time and now is, or something was going on in our life that we needed to overcome, and that now we're ready. Now, the third thing is that we have to get some time, money, and energy back. We probably have some patterns. We filled up our lives with things and with spending, with people that aren't really serving us. And so we have to look at those unhealthy patterns and decide how we're going to break those patterns and start some new patterns. And that's a matter of developing a practice of self-discipline, which leads to self-confidence. So once we know what it is that we need to clear out in our life and what it is that we want to create, we have to develop a practice of doing healthier things than what we've been doing in the past. And the last thing we need to do is we need to create a plan for getting from where you are to where you want to be. So, last case study is me. I'm my own best client. At first I made all the mistakes that everyone else makes in career transformation. I wasn't aware of my blueprint. I was chasing after shiny objects. I stayed in my comfort zone. I wasn't fully aware that believing was seeing. I stayed in fear most of the time because I wasn't able to recondition myself to gain a new picture of what it is that I wanted to do. I talked a good game, but then I realized that I needed something additional in my life to move me along. And for me, that was school. And I learned a lot of things about psychology and about belief systems and about myself. And I was able to move myself from where I was to where I wanted to be. But it started to take a long time. And I was in school for a couple of years, and then I was in one-on-one coaching practice for a couple of years. And, it wasn't until I found the things in the 5 Ps and then applied them to myself that things really started to move for me. So it didn't come to me fully formed in a nice PowerPoint format the way you saw it. This is years of trial and error. Once I did figure things out, things moved pretty rapidly, and I did some self-counseling, and I got help where I needed to get help to learn the skills that I needed to learn on how to create and follow a plan. And I'm happy to report that I'm now successful and happy, and I'm really grateful to the people, places, and things that came to me once I found out my blueprint and started to do all the things that are in the 5 Ps. So let's just do a quick recap. Happiness and joy are your natural states. Believing is seeing, not the other way around. We want you to find your blueprint, your innate talents and abilities, and not chase shiny objects. Abundance flows from doing what you love, and doing what you love is not irresponsible, because by definition, you're in the flow. And then you now know about the 5 Ps, the Agile solution for career transformation. A little while back, I mentioned your inner guidance, and I want to talk to you some more about that now. I call that developing your personal GPS. So developing your personal GPS is about getting in touch with what we usually think of as that still small voice inside of us, that if we listen to, knows our true self and knows what it is that's really right for us. So how do we get in touch with that? Well, and this is something that IT people typically are not great at, which is getting in touch with our emotions. That's how we know whether we like something or dislike something. We either have a bodily reaction or we have an emotional reaction, or sometimes we have both. And that's what tells us whether we're on track or we're off track. So developing our personal GPS is all about learning to develop an attunement to our emotions and whether what we're feeling is telling us that we should go forward with something or we should go away from something. Now, we have to be able to distinguish between a genuine emotion and fear, because as I talked about earlier, there's the kind of fear that keeps us away from danger, and we want to keep that. But we also want to get rid of the fear that is just coming up because we're outside of our comfort zone. And fear is the number one thing that knocks out our guidance system. So the reason why we can't sort of feel our true emotions or allow ourselves to really feel what's going on is that we become afraid. So we need to overcome that fear in order to be able to get at our guidance system. So how do we do that? Okay, well, fear will pass. Just like we know when it's a cloudy day, the sun is still shining. We might not be able to see the sun in the sky because it's cloudy, but we know that the sun is still there and that it's still shining. So fear is like the clouds. Fear comes over us. It clouds our judgment, but our judgment, our inner guidance, is still there, and it's always sending us signals. Now, if we don't develop this sixth sense of when we're in fear versus having our regular emotions, we're never going to know what is or isn't working for us. But if we can overcome fear, if we can develop a strong connection to our personal GPS, then everything that happens to us, every outcome is a good one because it's all feedback. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier too. As we make career transformation, not every result is going to be a good one. You know, Thomas Edison, they said that he did over 900 experiments before he successfully created the electric light bulb. And his attitude towards it was he knew 900 ways that things didn't work, and that was useful to him. So now we don't want to have 900 failures, but the same principle applies. Everything that happens to you in career transformation is just feedback. And if we are hooked up to our personal GPS and our emotions and our body, then that will tell us where to go next. And so really this is like building a muscle and being able to make good and clear decisions going forward. So I have a case study for this, my client, Doug. Doug came to work with me after having two very different careers. He had done corporate entertainment work, and he also was a yoga instructor and a hospice worker, so two very different things. And he had taken some time off, and now he was at a point in life where he wanted to merge his careers, his life, work together and create something new. But they were very different things, so he wasn't sure how to do that. And really for Doug, it was a matter of tuning into himself and trying on different ideas and different job possibilities different business possibilities till he came up with something that matched who he was perfectly. And so he was able to create a business where he was able to bring his heart-centered yoga practice to startup businesses that were in the space of wellness. So they needed his business corporate side to be able to, say, negotiate contracts, but they needed his heart-centered side because that was what was driving the business, was to be in service. And so the only way that Doug got there was learning to listen to his personal GPS and get the signals straight underneath both his corporate persona and his yoga persona. Now, not everything turned out perfectly. Some of the opportunities flourished and some of them died on the vine, but he was okay with that because he saw that as simply getting feedback, as I've been talking about. And here's a couple of things that Doug had to say, and I'll give you a moment to read these as well. So now we're going to talk about how to make this all happen. And we're going to do that by creating your project team and your project plan for career transformation. So most people chase careers that other people tell them that they should want or be good at. Sometimes we fall into that based on our family and family businesses, or we got influenced by friends in college. We didn't know what to major in, so we majored in what they majored in. We really didn't have any direction or idea what we wanted to do, so we just defaulted to other people's dreams. Sometimes we just sort of default to the American dream. Now, very few people who get stuck in that get over the wall by themselves and into something that they love. So we started out with someone else's dream, and now we figure out what our own dream is, but it's very difficult to get into that by ourselves. We really need help doing that. And people who do get over the wall will tell you that it took them a lot of time and they made a lot of expensive and time-consuming mistakes. So we don't want that for you. What we want to create for you is an accountability framework to help you reach the goals that you've set. So, this is really up to you in terms of where your life goes from here. As I said earlier, your life is a story, and nobody knows that story better than you do. You're at a particular point in time in your life where you want to make different things happen, and you want to rewrite the remainder of the story, and that's really up to you. So I also want to tell you that career transformation is not an easy, no-risk endeavor. There's going to be bumps along the way in creating that story. But it's better to create a team and a plan now when you're doing it under your own power and you can create your own timeline instead of giving all your power over to your employer, which is what you've been doing probably for years and you're just used to it. It's time to take some of that power back, realize it's your life and your career. And so we want to do this on your timeline instead of somebody else's. So what's the best thing to do? Well, my number one recommendation is to invest in mentoring. As an IT professional, you know what you do best, and you also know that you haven't achieved things in your career solely by yourself, that you probably worked in teams. You do what you do best, you make your stellar contributions, and you probably team with other people to create a project or a product or to move a department forward. So it's the same thing with finding a mentor. In career transformation, people tend to give up at the first sign of trouble. So one of the big upsides to having a mentor is that they will keep you on track. When there's trouble, they'll help you get over the fear and help you reconnect with your inner guidance. Also, mentors help you develop your own ideas. So it's very hard to sort of work out an idea on your own. Most of us need feedback or a sounding board, and they can help you develop your own ideas. And when you get stuck, if there's somebody with any sort of expertise, they'll be able to make suggestions of their own. The big thing is that you want to find a person or a program that solves this big issue in your life, and that is not somebody, again, telling you what to do, but somebody who can mentor you and teach you how to tap into your own intuition and make good, clear decisions by yourself and for yourself. So let's take a moment and look at what it is that we said we were going to talk about today. I said we talk about how to picture what your new career might look like, and that we talk about overcoming the fear of failure so you can make clear and confident decisions about your career. I said we talk about making a career change that leverages the skills you already have so you don't have to start over again at the bottom of the career ladder. I said we talk about how to make change on your timeline, not somebody else's, and how to focus on the things that you love doing and getting a team together to help you do the rest. And then last but not least, again, we want to move towards something that you love and not just away from something that you hate. We don't want to do the Mike out thing. We want to really move in a positive direction. So here's what you need to win. You need to realize that happiness and joy are your natural states. They're not something that you have to earn. And that when you are happy, you'll have the confidence that you need to make career decisions. Doing what you love will not wreck your lifestyle, because when you're in the flow, when you're creative, when you're hooked into your personal GPS, the people, places, and opportunities that you need to move your career forward will come to you. And now you know the secret to agile career transformation, otherwise known as the 5 Ps. Also, you'll know how to develop your personal GPS, and you know that you want to execute your career transformation like a project. You want to get some support, and you want to be able to create a plan from getting from where you are to where you want to go. Now, if you know these 5 principles alone, that's enough to make clear career decisions and to create a plan for going from stuck to successful. You really have everything you need. But now you have a choice. You can ignore everything that I've said today, and you can grind away day after day, feeling more and more frustrated until you either make a rash move or shut down completely. You'll continue to feel like a fraud at work and at home because you're not really being your best self, knowing that the passion is gone from your daily work. You'll continue to be at the mercy of inadequate bosses, company politics, changing technology, and you'll continue to give your power away to people who don't deserve to control the trajectory of your career. You might even find a new job, but with your existing mindset, don't be surprised when your old problems follow you to a new situation. It's really true what they say: wherever you go, there you are. Or you can get the help you need to chart your own path forward and move towards something that you love, not just away from something that you've lost passion for. You can develop the mindset and the skills to make really big decisions in your life that's in alignment with your inner guidance, your personal GPS, and know that everything you do is ultimately leading toward your success. How great is it going to feel to finally know that, to know what you're meant to do, and then to know that you're going to make it happen? How awesome is it going to be when you turn the job that you hate into a bridge to a brighter future, no longer viewing it as the endless nightmare that you feel trapped in? How great is it going to be when you're recognized for making an impact in the world and being rewarded with the lifestyle you deserve? How will your life be when you're working only on the things that you're passionate about? So how can I help with this? Well, it all starts with a conversation. I put some time aside on my calendar over the next couple of days to speak with you personally, and we can start the process of figuring out what it is that you want to do with your career. Where is it that you'd like to go next? You may have some ideas, you may have too many ideas, you may have no idea. So the way we get through that is to get in conversation with each other now that you know all the material from this class. We'll be able to have a good, productive conversation. And we may even be able to get into how you would create a plan to get from where you are to where you want to go. And I just want to assure you that whatever your biggest challenges are that you're facing with career transformation, I've seen them before and I've helped my clients overcome them. And the cost of the sessions, they're absolutely free. So who are these sessions for? Well, they're for people exactly like you. And I say that because you've been listening to this material now for about 40 minutes, and I'm willing to bet that some or most of what I've been talking about resonates with you. Somewhere deep inside of you, you realize that what you're doing isn't working, that you need some help making a career decision. You know that you want to do something else, but you don't know what that is, or you're afraid to do it because you think you're going to have to start all over again, or that nothing else is going to provide the security that your IT job provides. And as we've gone over in the class here today, that isn't true. But you do need some mentoring and some help in order to be able to get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what I offer in these breakthrough sessions. So if that sounds like you, if you know you're ready to have a low risk, no cost conversation, then I'd like you to book a session, and I look forward to talking to you. Now, you may be asking why I'm even doing this. Well, I do this because I like giving back and helping people find and achieve their dreams. It's very personally satisfying for me to have these conversations with people. People almost always come in the same way. They're in fear, they're in doubt, they're unsure about where they want to go and what they want to do. But they know that it's time to start making a move. They know it's time to start planning for the rest of their life and for the rest of their career. And that's a lot of fun for me. That's very satisfying to take people from that place of stuck to a place where the ideas are flowing and they realize that there's lots of different options and there's lots of different ways to get there and that they can actually do it. Now, as you can imagine, I do this for a living, and you might want some help transforming your career. And if that comes up organically, we can have that conversation. We can discuss what kind of help you might need and where you might get it. And that might be with me, and that might be with somebody else. And I'm okay either way. And here's how you book one of the breakthrough sessions. If you are listening to this on a desktop, then you should see a button in the upper right-hand corner that says Sign Up Now. If you're listening to this on a mobile device, then you'll have to type the URL into your browser. It's www.bruceinla.com/apply, like it says here on the screen. And when you get to that webpage, you're going to see it's going to ask you for your time zone, and then it's going to give you the available days and times. Now, I only put a few slots on my calendar every week for these breakthrough sessions, so I really recommend that if you want to have this conversation with me, that you go ahead and you sign up for a session now. So that's it for the material today. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it as much as I've enjoyed preparing it for you. I'm really looking forward to having that breakthrough session with you. Again, I encourage you to sign up for that right now. And I am Bruce Strumpf. This has been the Art and Science of IT Career Transformation. Take care. Bye-bye.